Time now for this week's Health Matters with PA Lynn Szabo. I'm Paul Critz. Mike Thornton along for the ride today. And Mike and I are in the KFUG studios, but it is high summer holidays, 4th of July weekend, and Lynn is calling in from elsewhere. Where are you this fine summer's day, Lynn?
I'm in the Bay Area hanging out with my folks.
Sunshining down there for you today?
Oh, it's super amazing, beautiful. Yeah. It's like my bones are drying out. I really love it. So,
well, thanks for calling.
Yeah, really. We've got enough of that.
We've got the 4th of July overcast here. We have
really?
our fluffy dome that will keep the fireworks from being visible.
Instead of the iron dome,
exactly.
We have the fluffy dome.
It's the cloudy dome we have here.
Right. We only have vague fireworks. You can't really quite see them. Some vague colors.
Crescent City, shadows of fireworks.
Like your rights. It's just vague rights we all have now. Oh, anyway, not to get down that. Let's don't fall down that red, white, and blue rabbit hole. I really like this topic that you suggested for today's, for this week's Health Matters, Lynn. Summertime first aid.
Hot fun in the summertime. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I'm talking about mostly stuff that's, unfortunately befalls us in Del Norte County. And the first one being poison oak, which is super common and super miserable.
And it's like an ornamental around here. There's poison oak everywhere in Del Norte. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you're sitting around talking, somebody's scratching something. But anyway, it doesn't really spread from person to person. It's only contact with the oils, but it hypothetically could spread with dirty laundry and maybe animals. Ew. So I don't really correct people in the exam room. And the initial treatment should be antihistamines for itch. My preferred one is Zyrtec. Benadryl kind of works for only 4 hours, makes people sleepy, and when it wears off, people are a lot more miserable. So topical steroid cream is good. You can buy that over the counter. Cordaid 10 is a common brand name, but you could get generic, it'd be fine, or Technu or Calamine, all the ones your grandma would tell you to put on.
Those are all still applicable? This isn't a cranberry juice scenario here for us today?
No, this is not. This is real, actual medicine. The grandmas are right on this one.
Now, how much exactly is an ocean of calamine lotion?
A lot. You mean exactly?
I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. That was for treating poison ivy. It's a song, Lynn. Okay. You're gonna need an ocean.
It's a song.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know. Not my channel, I guess.
Wow. I think you have to give her the right computer code to come up with that dosage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. I don't have the big pig.
Oh, I'm sorry. Calamine. Your insurance doesn't cover an ocean of calamine lotion.
Well, I don't think it'd cover anything over the counter, which is what calamine is. But anyway.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Miserable enough,
Nurse Literal. Let's go on.
If you fail the calamine challenge, okay, then you're coming to see me, the PA. We treat with steroids. Okay. All right. And everybody in the county wants the shot, but oral is better. So prednisone pills are better for a lot of reasons. One is that they kick in more quickly. They last longer, so you're not coming back in 5 days telling me you're getting worse.
No, go ahead. No, I'm sorry. I interrupt a lot. Go right ahead.
Okay. And in the time of COVID, you can kind of manipulate the pills. If somebody, for example, is getting sick with COVID and actually needs their immune system to be working better, then the poison oak becomes the secondary problem. COVID's the primary problem. And it's not like we can take a shot out of your body at that point. Right. So you're kind of out of luck. So what was your question?
Is there a point, like, let's say whatever, I've got poison oak. And first off, I'm going to knock on wood when I say this. I think I'm impervious to poison oak. Is that a thing?
I don't know. It's always worked for me. I've never gotten it. I've stood in it. I've slept in it. I've rolled around in it.
Yeah.
I was a firefighter. I breathed it. Yeah.
Never gotten it. And I've known other people who just, you can say the word around them and they'll break out with a rash. Is there a point when you're looking at, let's just say I've gotten, some sort of, I've walked through, rolled around in poison oak, and it's like, when should I seek like professional help? Is it just a matter of your discomfort level and you judge it that way, or is there a time when you're going, hey, this rash looks bad and needs actual medical attention that's more than just over the counter?
I think it kind of depends where it is. If it's on your face, that's kind of a deal. If it looks like it might be getting infected, that's kind of a deal. A lot of men, unfortunately, get it in their groin area, and if you're having problems peeing, that's a huge, big deal.
How?
And,
How?
Yeah, I know.
How do they get it in the groin? You're hiking wrong.
You tell me. You tell me. People pee on trees. They get it on their hands. There you go.
The answer is very simply because we're men.
Yeah, that's it, right?
Yeah, there you go. Enough said.
That's all we need to hear.
Yeah, it actually can be a medical emergency. So I always kind of tactfully ask about it.
What does possible infection look like? Is it just getting redder and puffier and more inflamed looking?
Yeah, painful and pussy looking. Maybe somebody has a low-grade fever.
Okay, good to know. But again, not applicable to me. But go ahead, right?
Okay, good to know. But there's no way, so we get asked this all the time, especially by firefighters, there's no way we can keep you from getting outbreaks if you're exposed to it and you're sensitive to it. So there's no like secret herbal remedy to keep you from getting it in the future. So, sometimes for the firefighters, I'll give them an extra refill of the steroids and kind of have an understanding that they know when they should treat and when they should seek care.
Right.
But you really have to talk me into that. I'm always reluctant to hand steroids out.
When you speak about firefighters, is there any problem with inhalation of
I think it's likely somebody in the world has managed a problem with it. It's certainly, I was a wildland firefighter, and I've been in some fires, and there really isn't anything you could do to keep from breathing it in. And then, what are you guys doing? What was the laugh?
You were a wildland firefighter?
Yeah, man.
Why do I not know this about you? I know it's an unanswerable question. Yeah, I don't know. Traumatic brain injury, whatever the answer is. But still, I want to talk more at some point about your experience as a firefighter. Jesus, Lynn, wow.
It was super fun. But I wasn't one for very long, and I was pretty much, on my way in other directions. But I never saw anybody who actually got it in their lungs, and I never have seen anybody clinically in acute care or the emergency room who I thought had a problem with it in their lungs.
Okay.
So, it's talked about, but I think it's kind of like Bigfoot. Is it there? Is it not really there?
Like cranberry juice.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, this next one you have on the, if you're ready to move on from the poison oak portion of our game.
I am.
The next round
Swimmer's
is
itch.
Swimmer's itch. What the hell is swimmer's? I've never heard of swimmer's itch.
Oh, it's so disgusting. So it's an allergic reaction to a microscopic parasite that infects wildlife.
Okay.
And then the wildlife pass it through their feces. Snails eat feces. The snails go and lay their eggs in the water, and then people swim in it, and the larvae
Circle of life.
Yeah, how fun is that? The larvae attached to the swimmer, usually from kids wading. They like kids because I guess their skin is thinner, and it's usually I see it mostly like from the knees down.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And like I wrote, Pump House, I'm looking at you.
Yeah. What's that mean?
That means last summer it was almost, I could walk in a room and see it on a kid and go, "You've been swimming at Pump House, huh?" And they'd be like, "Yeah. How do you know?"
So Pump House, is that the one? That's the pump down, the pump house. I assume down by the Dr. Fine Bridge all the way down, or is this a different location?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
No. You got it right. Usually happens around the late summer when the water is, kind of disgusting.
Right.
And the symptoms are tingling, burning, itching, skin lesions that kind of look like crazy mosquito bites.
Okay.
Like gigantic mosquito bites. And it starts pretty quickly after somebody's been swimming in an infected area. But the bummer is it takes weeks to go away, but it does go away by itself. But a kid who's constantly itching them with dirty fingernails and stuff could get a secondary infection. So sometimes it's either a mom needs an explanation of what it is, or the kid needs consideration for antibiotics if it's secondarily infected.
Okay. So these the home remedies that you list here, I mean, do they help? Do they alleviate?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
they'll help with it. So, steroid cream, over-the-counter steroid cream like Cordaid 10 or generic equivalent, cool compresses, the Epsom salts baths. These are all the grandma specialties.
Right.
Baking soda baths, oatmeal baths, baking soda paste. I'm kind of a fan of baking soda paste. But,
Really? Why?
and
Have you used it? Have you used baking soda paste?
yeah, on kids with mosquito bites. But yeah.
Ah, okay. Oh, good to know. Okay. All right. My wife Lisa is prone to mosquito bites. Like we can go out, I don't get bit, she gets bit. And then they're a thing for like several days. Like to me, like a mosquito bite is about 15 minutes and then you go on about your day and it's gone. But it lingers with her, and it's good to know if there's baking soda paste. So, I mean, you just mix up some water and some baking soda and topically apply it?
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that easy. And as with swimmer's itch, it's not contagious, but maybe swim somewhere else. So, usually, if places are infected with it, the winter rains will kind of flush the organisms out, and it doesn't really become a problem like year after year after year, but certain years.
It sounds like a water flow issue. In the years you have low water flow, you're going to have a buildup of bacteria and algae and all kinds of things. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I saw a lot of it last summer.
Really? Okay.
I hadn't seen a lot of it before, but I think it's just because the water flow has been kind of low. But it's disgusting anyway. So next one is sunburn, which of course can be avoided with high quality sunscreen.
Or moving to Del Norte. I was waiting for that.
So,
sorry.
Yeah.
but I'll tell you though, I mean, when the UV does hit you, you can feel it. I mean, it's intense.
Yeah. And you can be out on a foggy beach and get yourself burned pretty soundly too. Yeah.
Yeah, especially. And the thing about burns is people don't realize, but all those sunburns that you got when you were 10 years old, probably hanging in a river, you probably got a lot. I got a fair amount. And your skin never forgets.
Yeah.
So you start to see the results of those burns, maybe when you're 40 and 50, and all these weird looking skin lesions that are kind of horrific, and sometimes are melanomas, and bad things. So, yeah.
Horrible burns. Well, a couple of horrible burns, but yeah, I had a girlfriend in high school actually had I think they progressed to second degree burns. It was really bad. Really bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's more common actually, weirdly, on left forearms, because when people hang their arms out the car when they're driving. And then for men, in Del Norte, there's probably a lot of these back of the neck, so redneck, right? And the top of the ears. The top of the ears are
red ears.
Red ears.
For men.
Hick ears. No. And then in Del Norte too, for men too, they have the awkward. Your skin around your mouth is especially sensitive when you finally shave off your Del Norte goatee that everybody has. And then you can burn.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. I wouldn't have figured that.
Yeah, but the left forearm, that's the I-5 tan. That's what we always call it. Yeah.
Right, exactly, and that's where I see a lot of melanomas. But I think ibuprofen and anti-inflammatories are actually some of the best things to treat sunburn with, and people don't really think of that.
Oh, because they want to go topical, huh?
Right. Yeah. Tylenol less effective, but ibuprofen really helpful. Cool compresses, and this aluminum acetate compresses, I think that's just the generic name for what's available over the counter as Burroughs solution, Burrows solution.
Okay.
So is that like an aluminum shirt? You know what I mean? Like a tinfoil hat?
Or like the zinc oxide nose kind of thing?
No, I was just thinking, I'm going, it sounds like a tinfoil hat, only you wear it on your left arm,
Maybe.
I'm sorry. We're in a funny mood here. I'm sorry. I apologize. You can be so serious and earnest and literal with your information to help people, and it's like you've got a couple of middle school boys sitting here on the other end of the phone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it's a little harder that I'm not in the studio, so I can't give you the order. But anyway.
So is there anything like topical, like the aloe vera, that green jelly stuff? That always seemed to really, really help. Does that actually help, or is that all in my mind?
There's also, I think it is helpful. And there's also kind of a combination of xylocaine or numbing medicine plus aloe vera. That's kind of helpful. Solar cane, that's what that is usually.
Oh, wow, okay.
So that kind of stuff is soothing, but I find ibuprofen to be more effective because you can solve the problem without getting goo everywhere.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
I mean, who would have thought that bathing in the remnants of nuclear fire would be so problematic?
Well, who would have thought that bathing in the remnants of nuclear fire would feel so good?
Well, that's true. Yes.
Come on.
Yeah, that's true. I was thinking particularly.
But it's a vitamin D thing. There's a plus side.
Oh, yeah, good point. Good point, right? Yeah.
So we kind of need that.
The next thing on the list here is actually the one thing I'm terrified of, and that's ticks,
Really?
tick bites, and Lyme disease. Oh yeah, that's my one thing on this list that I'm like, I'm not immortal here.
Well, here's some good news. Okay, here's scientific fact. There is certainly a lot of medical, quote unquote, fiction out there, but there's the tick bites in Del Norte and Humboldt County are about 3 to 4% of the deer ticks, or about 3 to 4% of them are likely or able to transmit Lyme disease.
Okay, that's helpful because in my mind, it's a sure thing. You get bit by a tick, then you're going to have Lyme disease for months. Right. Yeah, okay.
It's like a 96 to 97% chance. It's no big deal. Even if you got bit by a deer tick. Now, not all ticks are deer ticks, right? So
no, that's also something I didn't know. I'm thinking my fear might really have been ignorance fired.
Just a bit, man. Yeah, Lyme disease is, first of all, medical people don't say Lyme's disease. So if you're consulting a medical person and they're calling it Lyme's disease, then you maybe ought to be talking to somebody else. So it's Lyme disease in the purest medical form, and it's really not that as common up here as people think, although they blame a lot on it. It is possible. So let's say you got bit by a deer tick, so 97% likely not to be able to transmit Lyme just because of the rates that we have in the area. Takes 36 to 48 hours for the disease to be transmitted. So the tick has to be on there for a while.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And the risk goes up a little bit if the tick removal leaves the mouth parts in. Right. So that's a little worrisome. So you might, there's a couple of good ways to do it and a couple of bad ways to do it.
You don't just want to grab and yank, right?
No, that would be hysteria if you did that. There
are very, very, very few instances in which you want to grab and yank. But still, I get you. Grenades.
Totally. Yeah.
So, but there's a tick removal tool?
Yes, and you could probably buy it at Big Five or Walmart. It looks like a little teaspoon with a notch cut in.
Okay.
The far end, and you just kind of scoop the tick's body and where their head is going in right through that little notch. You just lift up, and it works really well.
Wow. Okay.
So that's actually what we use in urgent care.
It's like a tick spork.
A tick spork.
Yes, it is, exactly.
So there was a line we skipped over, but it said, I mean, like the 3% incidence in Humboldt and Del Norte of Lyme disease but prophylaxis is not even recommended until the rate in the area is 20%. First off, that's great, but what's prophylaxis against a tick bites?
So prophylaxis is a way of dosing doxycycline if the person meets like 5 criteria.
Okay.
One of them is like you live in a place where the rate of Lyme and deer ticks is greater than 20%. So we would almost never. The only way I could see is if somebody got a tick bite, traveled maybe by air, and landed here and then noticed the tick. And, it has to be on more than 36 to 48 hours. The patient has to not be allergic to doxycycline or not be pregnant because doxycycline is contraindicated in pregnancy. And pretty much, and it has to be a deer tick. So pretty much when somebody's anxious and they have a tick bite and they come into urgent care, all that logical science goes out the window. And I try and present it, but if somebody's really it's super driven by anxiety, I'll go ahead and prescribe it. And it's kind of cool. It's just, you just take 2 doxycycline.
Wow.
So
And that'll protect you. Now, if Lyme disease does develop, I mean, what can you do? I know we're beyond first aid, but I'm just curious about that. I mean, is there treatment for Lyme disease that is effective? My understanding is it's like months and months of like, bad stuff.
Well, there's a lot of alternative medicine that kind of is available, especially in Humboldt County, that has a different worldview on how to treat it than I would have.
Of course.
If it was me going worried about Lyme disease, then I would go see Uzi Seltzer or maybe Bill Hunter in Humboldt County, who works out of Open Door. Uzi works out of UIHS, and I would get a really educated view and get the appropriate blood tests and get the appropriate diagnosis before I would go in talking about treatment. So people don't really know those.
Hello? Well, son of a bitch.
Right. Oh. It's not there. No.
You there, Lynn?
I'm actually hearing something in the background.
I think it's the...
Oh, it could be, yeah. Yeah, because the thing is, I was just getting ready to ask if like you're down in New Orleans and this happens.
Are you there, Lynn?
Yeah, drop the call again.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's fine. No, okay, so let's go back. Let's see. Everything went dead, and I said, son of a bitch, and then Mike started making a joke. So
yeah, I did, because I wanted to know if you get bit by a tick in like New Orleans, can you get like key Lyme disease?
Oh, that was funny. It's spelled differently.
She's got to be... It's so like Jessica and Lisa, just so literal. It's spelled differently. Yes, I know, but it's a joke. Okay.
Hey.
All right, so
I laughed.
What you did? Yes, thank you.
And thank you, and I appreciate it. I do.
Okay, all right. So I guess alternative. I'm not talking so much about alternative medicine and Lyme disease treatment. If you can track Lyme disease, you're basically stuck with Lyme disease, right?
No, you can be treated with doxycycline. Sometimes, if it's progressed, you can be treated with Persephone. So, but it's not really a problem that people think it is around Del Norte and Humboldt. Although with climate crisis, stuff is going to change, and I imagine these diseases are going to spread. And it's like when it first landed in Lyme, Connecticut, it did spread across the United States. So I imagine eventually the numbers will be higher here.
And so that's seriously though, and that's why it's called Lyme disease. See, I never knew that it came
from Lyme, Connecticut.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we can do this in another show, another context, maybe. But Connecticut is kind of a garbage pile.
Yes.
It really is.
A particularly appealing pile of garbage.
Hartford is not, but anyway. Okay. So let's get back to it, and apologies to...
I don't know. I don't hardly ever go east of the Mississippi.
Well, yeah, all the Lyme disease, for one thing. But the dog and cat bites you have here. Is this an actual worry?
This is a summer thing, because as we get further down, we'll see it. I'm going to address rabies. But, and we've had waves of rabies go through the community, mostly in Humboldt County around McKinleyville and Blue Lake areas, but also up at Hoopaw. So it's around. When you get a dog or a cat bite, make sure your provider asks about your tetanus shot, because they oftentimes forget. And if there was a dirty puncture wound, more classic, it would be an actual bite. So, almost like stepping on a nail is secondary to bites.
Right,
so
right.
It becomes an issue. And then cat bites and dog bites, especially if they're on their hands, which is where most people get bit because they're usually breaking up fights or trying to protect themselves, needs like almost immediate treatment. For cat bites, and they immediately need, if a person is not has a penicillin allergy, they immediately need to go on antibiotics even before any infection sign happens.
Really?
Because they're 98% expectation of infection. And hands are pretty much only what you absolutely need. So tendons, bones, and muscles, small muscles. It's really in a blood supply with some nerves. It's really easy to screw them up. It's important, even if it doesn't look like a big deal, to get into urgent care or walk-in clinic or something to get treated.
Okay.
So, But here's the deal. If the animal is unknown to you or if it's unvaccinated, you're going to be asked to go to the emergency room for rabies prevention.
Okay.
And people freak out at this point because the whole rabies prevention thing, first of all, it's not a shot in your belly button like they tell you on the schoolyard.
Okay, I grew up with the rabies shot being like a big circle of shots in your abdomen that were very painful and was like, Torquemada was administering them.
No, that's funny. Now that is funny.
Thank you.
No, they're not at all like that.
Okay.
You get two different basic shots. You get an antibody shot from somebody who's had rabies, and you get their antibodies kind of purified, and then you also get an antigen block.
Oh wow.
So, it's super expensive, and there's no other way to get it because it's complicated. And it has to be done right because it happens kind of around the area where you're bit.
Mm-hmm.
So if it happens on your hands, that means you're getting shots on your hands, and that's a little annoying. And then it's a series of encounters at the ER. So I think you go in every 10 days or 2 weeks. That they give you like a little handout and little times when they expect you back and stuff, and it has to be followed pretty rigorously, and it's only the ER.
Wow.
Which is super frustrating to people because it's hella expensive.
Is it only in the ER here because of the limited resources that we have, or is it like that everywhere?
It's pretty much universal.
So why is it just because why is that?
It's because of the chemicals that are the antibodies that they're injecting and immunoglobulin that they're injecting in you is really, really expensive. So average open door office is not really going to carry that.
Wow.
And the other thing is my guess is that there's a certain amount of high liability. So what if you don't do it right? Somebody gets rabies. That's 100%, almost 100% fatal.
And that's what can happen is if they don't do it right, somebody will get rabies. That's what'll develop.
I think that's their worst case scenario.
Yeah. Wow.
But the whole point is they're trying to avoid that, right?
This is the analogous situation to this is why not every sushi restaurant serves that blowfish that you have to cut up exactly or it'll kill you, that kind of thing. Okay.
Exactly, that they want the right people to be doing it. And so it is mandatory by law for providers to write a bite report, which kind of freaks people out because if they got bit by their friend's dog or something, they don't want that dog to be injured or taken away from the owner or anything.
The dog has a record now.
Right. That is not the point of a bite report. So pretty much the animal control officer calls the owner up and says, is it immunized for rabies?
Okay.
If it's not immunized for rabies, then it's quarantined for 10 days. And it can be quarantined at home. It's not a traumatic quarantine, but they just watch it to see if it develops any illness. Okay. So it's not a threat to the dog. Or the cat.
The next line in your email is maybe my favorite line you've ever emailed me.
Yeah, that was funny. I've done that before too. Waking up in a room with a bat requires a rabies series. This is true.
Just waking up in a room with a bat. Go get your rabies series. Right?
Really?
If it's a living bat. Which happened to me a lot in Blue Lake because we had cats that brought in bats.
Oh, I lived in a cabin in the hills that had bats in the belfry, and every couple of days you'd have to open a window and let a bat out.
Right.
I think if the bat was dead, I'd be even more nervous.
Well, if the bat's dead, then what you do is you take it to the public health department and they check it for its brain for rabies. It's really disgusting.
I just say
animal control SVU.
Right.
Dun, dun.
Oh, I could just see that happening here, can't you? Like you bring the bat in and they lay it out on the table. Quincy comes out, starts, cutting the brain.
At first glance, this looks like an accident. Right. But we got the talk screen back.
Right. You would think that, but the astute observer. Yeah, totally.
So just because there's a chance that a chance that you were bitten, or a chance that that fleas are jumping off the bat onto you, or is there?
No, that you were bitten, and a bat bite is not necessarily a big traumatic, obvious puncture. You can totally not be aware of it.
If you're light sensitive.
Can't see yourself in a mirror.
Yeah.
Oh. You know, it's only because rabies is such a horrifically hard to, like almost impossible to treat. They do have a protocol, and it did save a local girl up at Hoopa.
Oh, wow.
And she got excellent care from Mad River Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
She could get to UC Davis, and a pediatric infectious disease specialist pegged the diagnosis, and she pulled through without really too much, problem.
Right on.
But yeah, but it's she's like one of 15 people that have survived clinical rabies.
Oh, man.
In the history of the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, one of our local stars, I guess.
I'll be darned.
So, yeah. So it's absolutely a good idea if you wake up in a room with a bat to get a rabies series, at least talk to somebody about it.
That'd be the first of several questions I have.
Yeah.
And
I would get the bat. I would not let the bat go if it was still alive. I would get the bat.
Don't let the bat cut a deal. Yeah. And just I love the last line too in your email, which is don't pet the wildlife. That's good.
Yeah, this you think would be self-evident, but there was a couple of rabies epidemics in the summer in McKinleyville, Humboldt County, Arcata area. And one emergency room nurse at Mad River Hospital, she was coming on to her night shift. She got chased from her car to the ER by a rabid bat.
Oh, my God.
Sorry, a rabid fox. So there were foxes and raccoons that were mostly rabid. And then elderly people living in McKinleyville by themselves were feeding them and petting them and, allowing them to get really close to them and getting bit. At my daughter's school in Arcata, during lunchtime, a kid was just lying in the grass and a fox came up and bit her.
No.
So
foxes and rabies, that's a thing. They seem to be, it seems just anecdotally like there's a prevalence of rabies among foxes. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and you live in a rural area when you're going to a doctor's office and you get out of the car and there's a bunch of cops looking at a deceased raccoon that they just killed because it was trying to attack people. So that happens in Humboldt County. So no.
Yeah, that's a hell of a police blotter.
Right. It's another SVU
I know.
thing.
Yeah.
I know, totally. They were trying to decide what to do with it, and I said you should take it to public health and they should verify it. But anyway, so the point being that it's around and it's unusual, and you just should stay away.
Yeah.
So,
and boomers, please stop helping.
Stop helping? How so? How do boomers?
Because the boomers were feeding them, right?
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Stop helping boomers.
Yeah. So get your elders to not do that because they think it's so cute, Yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
don't do that. Don't hang around. Don't pet the wildlife.
Well, I have to thank you for today's Health Matters. It was like a little mini vacation.
I know.
A very bad mini vacation. I got poison oak from a bat.
Oh, no. National Lampoon's Del Norte Vacation.
Don't forget the calamine.
That's funny. Oh, that's funny, too. Bring the calamine, honey. Yeah, got it.
Well, Lynn, is there anything else to protect us against summer?
No, nothing else, but just enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, and it can for the most part, be easily managed. But next week, there's a bill I want to talk about composting human remains in California.
Ooh, okay, all right.
As a legitimate business venture and a choice that somebody could make, not as a crime scene.
That's okay. No, I look forward to that. That's a wonderful topic. That's cool.
That's the choice we could make. It's going through the legislature right now, and it's actually kind of a cool choice. Very green.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Lynn, thank you. Enjoy visiting your family down there in the Bay Area. Enjoy the good weather and the 4th of July, and drive safe coming home. I assume you drove.
I'm going to fly.
Oh, you're going to fly. Okay. All right. Well, fly safe coming home, and good luck getting home.
Yeah. Totally. I'm hoping that I can watch the fireworks up the coast,
Oh, wow.
Because if they're above the fog, I should be able to see them, right?
Well, wonderful, Lynn. Lynn Szabo, PA, thank you so very much, and we'll talk to you next week in person for Health Matters.
Alrighty.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.